everybody, this is Kelly, the Property Hunter. Welcome back to our channel, the best place for property investors. All right, so something happened in Singapore last evening where the Singapore government actually introduced a range of cooling measures to cool off the very hot property market in Singapore. Okay, so ever since then, I started receiving a lot of SMSs, a lot of texts from my friends asking me, Kelly, what are all these cooling measures about? How is it going to affect me? And how is it going to affect the Singapore property market? Okay, so and this is the reason why I'm creating this video today, to actually share with you guys and to explain what exactly are these cooling measures. Okay, so without further ado, let me just share the slides with you guys. Just give me a short while over here. All right, let's go. So how will the new cooling measure affect us? Okay, so let me just share with you very quickly what are the three cooling measures that the government has actually implemented last evening. So the first one is the increase in additional buyer stamp duty. The second one is the lowering of the total debt servicing ratio. And the third is the lowering of loan to value for HDB flats. Okay, so what exactly are all these? Let me just go in there one by one. Okay, so the first one is increasing in ABSD, additional buyer stamp duty. As you guys know, additional buyer stamp duty is actually an additional tax levy that the property owners have to pay, property buyers have to pay if, let's say, they are buying the second and the third property, or for example the foreigners or companies who are buying properties. Okay, they will be subjected to this tax. The reason why the Singapore government implemented this was actually to discourage people from speculating in the property market, so as not to cause a bubble in the property price and then for it to crash. Okay, so let's take a look at what is actually the increase. How much is the increase? So if you take a look for Singaporeans, for our first property, this is the old rates, okay, and this is the new rates. So for our first property, it remains the same from 0 to 0, okay? So for people who are genuinely buying a home for themselves to stay, the government is not actually placing any additional tax on that. So for the first property for Singaporeans, it remains the same. The first property for permanent residents remains the same at 5% as well. But if you take a look for Singaporeans, the second property, by the way, just to let you guys know, we're talking about residential properties here. So if, let's say, you're buying commercial or industrial property, you are not subjected to this additional buyer stamp duty. Okay, so for the second residential property, the old rate is actually 12%, and there's an increase of 5% to 17%. And for the third property, you can see, there's a significant 10% increase from 15 to 25. As you can see, these measures are really geared towards deterring people from buying multiple properties or to, invest heavily in properties. Okay. As for permanent residents, there's a significant increase actually from over 10%, from 15 to 25 for the second property, and for the third property from 15 to 30, a good 15% increase. And as for the foreigners, there will be a 20%. It used to be 20%, and there is now a 10% increase to 30%. And for the entities, which are companies, okay, there's an increase of 10% from 25 to 35. So why increase the foreigners and why increase in the companies? So as you guys know, the property market has been increasing, has been very hot, ever since COVID started, right? Okay, because of all the pent-up demand and all the local demand. So all these prices are actually increasing at a very rapid rate. And so far, we are not able to see any end to it. It seems like, it's not going to stop. So the reason why they're increasing is, number one, to stop people from buying more, to deter people from speculating in the market. And why for the foreigners? Since the foreigners are not in yet. But as you guys know, the price has already increased significantly due to the local demand. And Singapore is slowly opening our gates to a lot of foreigners. But once the foreigners enter, we believe that there will be a second spike in price because of all these foreigners buying up. So in order to stop that from happening, to prevent that second spur of that property price, this is the reason why the government increased the 10% additional buyer stamp duty for foreigners. In case when the gates open, when they come in, and then if they start buying up all the properties, then the property price is going to hike up again. Okay, so that is one reason for it. And as for entities, for companies, as you guys know, en bloc cycle has just started. There is limited land supplies, and the stock from the previous batch has already been depleting. So we're running out of stocks, running low on stocks. Okay, so the developers are needing to replenish the stock to prepare for the next cycle of new launches. Okay, so does that mean with this increase in the ABSD, does that mean that the en bloc cycle is over? I would say no, because based on what we see, well, we will say no, because the developers still need to replenish their stock. Okay, but what is going to happen is they are likely going to be more selective. They are more likely to be more conservative in the reserve, the price bidding as well. So the bidding price. So what we will see is probably there will still be our en bloc, but probably lesser, or maybe at a slightly a lower price as compared to before, as compared to like just the recent ones. Okay, so because of this additional 10% that they have to pay now, so I'm sure that that's going to eat into their profit for sure. So that leaves them lesser capital to play when it comes to bidding for a price. Okay, so this is how we see it's going to affect the market. All right, so the next one is the lower of total debt servicing ratio. Just in case you guys don't know, Singapore, our loan eligibility, okay, we are only able to actually take up loans up to 60% of our income. And that loans includes everything, your car loans, your credit card loans, your property loans, everything. So it's actually capped at a maximum of 60%. So this new measure actually reduces the 60 to 55%. So what is the impact there with that 5%? Okay, so let's take a look. Let me just show you one example so you will have an idea. Okay, so assuming that John, he's age 35 and he has a monthly income of $10,000, and assuming that there's no debt, no loans, okay, presuming that he has no car and there's no credit cards. Okay, we're just doing a very simple illustration here, so to let you have an idea of what's the impact here. Okay, and he's taking the maximum loan tenure of 30 years. So assuming that, and what is this 5% difference going to make? Okay, what's the difference? So with 60% TDSR, his maximum monthly repayment is at $66,000, as you know, 60%, right, of his monthly income. The maximum loan he can take is 1.335, and the maximum purchase price is 1.78. So with this reduce of TDSR by 5%, what's going to happen is his monthly repayment is going to be at 5,500 instead, and the maximum loan has been decreased to 1.222 mil, and the maximum price that he can purchase for his property is 1.63. Okay, so as you can see, there is a difference of about $150,000 when it comes to the property. So what does that mean? It means that if people who are looking at buying a bigger property, or a property with a higher quantum, higher price tag, may need to look for something with a slightly lower price tag. But if you ask me, 5% is not a very big, not a huge significant difference. There is a slight. So what does that mean? People, instead of buying like 1.78, now you can only buy 1.63. So instead of going for the higher ticket one, you may need to reduce that a little bit. Okay, so this is what is gonna how it's gonna affect us when it comes to our total debt servicing ratio. So the third one, a lot of my friends came to me because a lot of them are currently staying in HDB, our government flats, right? So they asked me, Kelly, how is it gonna affect me? Because now I'm staying in a HDB. So for majority of you out there, I would say it may not affect as much, or it may not affect you at all. Because why? It means that the decrease of LTV, loan to value, is from 90% to 85%. So in the past, you can take 90% loan, and now you're only able to take 85% loan. And what does that mean? Okay, it's only for HDB loans, meaning those that actually apply for loans with HDB. For those of you who are taking your loans from the bank, you are absolutely not affected, because the bank's loan to value limit is at 75 anyway, right? So that remains. Okay, so applicable for HDB loans. And the down payment, instead of paying 10%, now you have to pay 15% instead. Okay, so what does that mean? So which means, for those of you who are paying in cash, down payment in cash, you will be affected, because instead of coming out of 10%, now you have to come up with 50%. But the thing is, majority of us are actually paying our down payment and our loans using our CPF. If you're utilizing your CPF for this, then I wouldn't think that you'll be affected, because a lot of us are using CPF to pay not just the down payment, but for the remaining of the mortgage loan as well. Some of you are making a down payment, instead of 15%, is 20, 25, even 30%. Okay, because many of us have a lot of CPF in our accounts. Okay, so for those of you who are using your CPF to pay off, to make a down payment. And for those of you who are taking the loans from the bank, you will not be affected by this. Okay, so what does that mean for this property market? So I know some of them ask me, so Kelly, does that mean that the property price is going to drop significantly? Will the market crash? Okay, so in our opinion, we think that will the prices drop? Unlikely. Because why? Let's take a look at past statistics. Okay, so this is a chart done by actually it's a source by URA and UOB. Okay, so this is what happened in the past. In the past, our property price was actually increasing rapidly, and then the government introduced the first cooling measure, ABSD, in December 2011. As you can see, the price there didn't drop. What it did was, as you know, the term cooling measure. Cooling is just to cool off a very hot property market to maybe warm instead of, instead of piping hot, is now a little bit lukewarm or warm. Okay. So what it did was it actually just slowed down the growth a little bit, but it didn't last long before it started peaking again. Okay, and that is when the government introduced the second round of cooling measure, and that second round of cooling measure actually didn't affect much. As you can see here, the price continued to increase, and then they came out with a TDSR. And then, there will be people asking me, but this time around, they also came out with TDSR. So does that mean that the price will drop significantly? Okay, the thing now is, in the past, in 2013, before 2013, there was no such thing as TDSR. So people were able to take multiple loans from banks and all this to buy multiple properties. But because of this TDSR limit, it just suddenly reduces our loan to only 60%. Okay, and because of that, this limit, right, people aren't able to take multiple loans, they are not able to afford multiple properties then. And that is what causes the property price to drop. Right now, the TDSR is reduced by 5% from 60 to 55. We don't see that much of an impact as compared to before. But if you ask me, let's say now they were to introduce the TDSR from 60 and they reduce it to say 40, then yes, I would say that from 60 to 40, there is a significant reduction. Then yes, I believe that it will affect the property price. But a 5% decrease, as you can see from the example earlier, right? It's just based on the example, is a difference of $150,000 in property price, and for that 1/mil kind of property, $150,000 is not a very significant big difference. Okay, for the kind of price tag. So will there be a drastic price drop? We don't believe so. What we believe so is that there will be a slow in our price hike. As you know, it is rising very, very rapidly right now. So this cooling measure is going to slow it down a little bit. Will prices still increase? Very likely, yes, but probably at a slower pace, not so rapid. Will it drop drastically? We don't believe so, especially with this increase in, increase in construction costs, increase in our government land sales. So there is a minimum price there. You get what I'm trying to say? The government land sales, they are selling at such a high price. The developer need to make money, right? They cannot be selling at a loss. So we don't think the price is going to drop. But moving forward, will developer, like I mentioned earlier, developer will be a little bit more conservative when it comes to en-bloc sales, when it comes to their pricing, bidding price. Okay, that is how we will foresee this. Okay, and as you can see over here, didn't last long before we started hiking again, and the government actually introduced the fourth round of cooling measure, which is the third ABSD in July 2018. And as many of us know, that didn't stop the property price from dropping. It didn't. It actually increased. Until COVID hit, it dropped very, very little, and then it started spiking again. Okay, so will it affect? And then some of my friends actually asked me, so Kelly, are there ways to go around managing all these additional buyer stamp duty? There are ways. So there are tips and strategies that many of us are using to afford multiple properties and still be able to invest in the property market. So if you're interested to find out more, I would like to invite you guys to our upcoming webinar. So it's on the 7th and the 21st of January 2022. So it's a 1.5 hour webinar. It's absolutely free. So we'll be sharing with you some of the tips and strategies, some of the things we do to actually invest in the property market in Singapore, and how we actually help. What are some of the strategies we use to help the people around us profit from the real estate investment as well. Okay, so if you're interested, you can just take your mobile phone and scan the QR code here. There is also a link that you can actually click to join in. I will put this link in the comment section so that it's easier for you guys to click in. So once you go through this link, it will bring you to an Eventbrite page. You'll be able to sign up for this event, and then you will receive an email notification from us on the Zoom login details, the webinar login details. All right. So we hope today's session has been beneficial to you guys. I hope it has been useful, with all these burning questions that people are asking us. So if you're interested to find out more, we will see you guys at our webinar. Otherwise, you can, feel free to drop us a message here. Feel free to actually just drop us a comment if you have any questions regarding all these new polling measures. All right, so till then, I will see you guys. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time. Bye-bye.